Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
An inscription from the most well-known statue in the U.S. and around the world. The poem, The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus, rests upon the Statue of Liberty.
Well, welcome to Celebrate Michigan. I'm Matt Beiser.
And I'm Christy Daring. Today we are talking about immigration, the legal, the moral, and how it affects us all.
Well, he is a principal in the law firm of Garmo and Associates in Farmington Hills, Michigan, where he specializes in U.S. immigration law. He has previously chaired the Advocacy Legislation Committee for the Michigan chapter of American Immigration Lawyers Association, and was a past chair of the Oakland County Bar Association Immigration Committee. Please welcome Steve Garmo.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on our show.
It's a pleasure.
It's nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
Great to have
how
you.
long have you been practicing law?
Since 1990, 20 years.
Okay.
And has it always been immigration law that you've specialized in?
Yes.
And what is, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. How did you get, what made you interested in immigration law?
As an immigrant myself, and I tried some other stuff in the beginning, did some criminal law. I did some personal injury for a few months, and I just didn't enjoy it. And I just wanted to do something I enjoy, and I believe that if you do something that you truly enjoy, that you'll really be good at it.
So what does your firm do exactly?
We do exclusively immigration law.
And what parts of immigration? I'm trying to think, is it just getting people to become citizens, or is it coming to the United States in general?
Everything. We do anything from investment visas, we do employment visas, we do family visas, we do fiancés, we do refugees, we do deportation. We do everything, every facet of immigration law, including diversity lottery.
So we always hear about the visas, this thing that everybody needs. What exactly is that?
Think about a visa as a ticket. You want to go into a movie theater, but you need a ticket to get in. So without the ticket, they're not going to let you in. So it's an admission mechanism that allows people to be able to go in or to come into the country.
So how does somebody get a visa?
Well, you've got two sets of standards. One is you've got people that are coming in from what we call visa waiver countries. These are primarily the European countries, Japan, and some other countries. These people do not need a visa because the requirement for the visa are waived. Of course, that includes also Canada and certain people in Mexico as well, which are covered under the North American Free Trade Agreement. Now, the other set of people do require a visa. That means they have to submit an application to the American Embassy or Consulate abroad. They have to attend an interview in most instances, and they have to go through an interview. And the U.S. government, of course, does security background checks on these people that are coming in before they're issued a visa. And if a consular officer believes that the person is coming here to visit or for whatever purpose that they're applying, they could be coming here to work, they could be coming here to visit, but they have to have the proper visa for the different applications.
That sounds so confusing. As an American, I know we get a passport and we go to another country.
To most countries.
Yeah, that's true. Most countries. There's a few that we don't go to, but how long does this process take for everyone else? Well,
it depends. It depends. For example, if you want to apply for a visa to come to the U.S. and you're a Canadian landed immigrant, not citizen, Canadian landed immigrant, and you don't come from the visa waiver countries, it's going to take you about 45 days to apply and to come in here. So you're looking at a couple of months in most instances. And there's cases where it's taken longer than that. For example, if somebody requires a security background check, of course, in most instances, that takes less than 30 days. Those cases could be months. It could be a student. It could be someone who is coming here to work. It could be a scientist.
Okay, and what's the difference between a permanent resident and a citizen?
Citizens are individuals who have been naturalized. There's two ways to naturalize. One is if you are a child under the age of 18 or under the age of 21 in certain circumstances, and one of or both of your parents are U.S. citizens. You can naturalize under the Citizenship Act and be naturalized without going through the oath ceremony, without submitting your application. The second part is to actually go through the process that we call naturalization. It's a process that every permanent resident has to go through. If you're married to a U.S. citizen, the process is 3 years. If you're not, the process is 5 years. This is the time that you have to wait from the time you get your green card to the time you submit your application for naturalization.
Now the green card, that's almost another ticket. What does that mean when you have a green card?
It means that you are a permanent resident of this country. You can work. You are permitted to travel. But once you commit a crime, then we're going to deport you. Certain crimes, of course.
So it's like a probationary period almost. They're watching you.
Yes.
So a speeding ticket or something like that.
Well,
how would
no,
that mark the record?
We're not talking about speeding tickets. All the multiple speeding tickets can reflect your moral character as someone that we as Americans may not want to associate with. You know, we've had a number of clients whose applications for citizenship were denied because they had lengthy traffic violations, or during the statutory period, which is the 5 years.
So, like the traffic violations, are there a bunch of other red flags that they look for?
Absolutely.
What are some of those?
If you've got someone who failed to register for the Selective Service, they're going to more likely than not deny that individual. If you've got someone who's committed a crime during the 5 years before the application, more likely than not that person is not going to be eligible. And of course you've got crimes which subject the person to deportation. Domestic violence is one of them. Any type of a gun crime is a deportable offense. So you've got a lot of grounds for deportation that a person can actually get deported for.
So the idea of those is just to keep everything safe. We don't want dangerous people.
The whole idea is, look, you're coming into our country. We'd like for you to behave. And if you don't behave, we're going to kick you out. It's that simple.
All right.
All they have to do is behave.
Yeah, that's not too much to ask.
That's all we're asking.
Okay. Well, when we come back, we will talk more with Steve about immigration and the law.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Celebrate Michigan, and we are talking with Steve Garmo, who has published extensively, both in English and Arabic, various articles relating to U.S. immigration. So, tell us a little bit, let me back up. What's the difference between an illegal immigrant and a legal immigrant?
The difference is really an individual who is a legal resident is here on either a green card, here on a student visa, or here on some other valid non-immigrant visa, such as a visitor. An illegal alien or undocumented alien are individuals who, say somebody came here on a visitor visa, and after 6 months, of course, they overstayed their visa. That person is now an illegal alien. You've got a student who comes here on a student visa, and they fail to go to school. That person becomes an illegal alien. You've got a worker, comes here on a work visa, and they fail to work for the employer that brought him here. That individual now becomes an illegal alien. So that's and of course we're also referring to individuals who sneak through our borders to come in here to work in the farms. These individuals we refer as well to undocumented or illegal aliens.
Now, what happens when those people are found out?
Well, obviously they're placed in what we call removal proceedings. Now, there's two standards. If somebody's coming through an airport, there is an expedited process where the person is placed in the next airplane and shipped back to his or her home country. But if somebody makes the entry into the U.S. and they're found in the U.S., then that person have an opportunity to go before an immigration judge where they have some rights.
Okay, so if they've been here for a while, does that include, people who have outstayed their visas?
Yeah, so there are some forms of relief that are available in immigration court. For example, if somebody has immediate family members in the U.S., well, that individuals can apply for relief, which we call adjustment of status. If somebody has been here for a period of 10 or more years, there's a provision called cancellation of removal that someone can apply for. Or somebody can just ask the judge to allow them to return to his or her own country without having to be deported physically.
So if they don't have a visa and they decide they want to go back home and visit and then come back to the U.S., what's going to happen to them?
Well, if a person has overstayed their visa by 180 days, that person is subject to what we call 3-year bar. That means you can come back to the U.S. for a period of 3 whole years. Not only that, any visa that's in their passport is automatically canceled. they'd have to go back to the U.S. Embassy and reapply for the visa. If they've overstayed their visa by a period of 1 year or more, that person is now subject to the 10-year bar, that they can't come back to the U.S. for a period of 10 years without a waiver.
Okay. And how many illegal immigrants would you say are in the country at this time?
Well, according to various statistics, I've heard anywhere from 12 to 20 million people that are undocumented in this country.
And what, of all the immigrants, what percentage of them would you say are illegal, just to get an idea?
Well, again, illegal and undocumented are two words that are, used. It really means the same thing. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about 12 to 20 million people, we're talking about people that are here either because they came and overstayed their visa, mm-hmm. or they sneaked in through the border.
Yeah. Now, there's a wall being built right now between Mexico and the U.S. What is your opinion on that?
Well, as an individual, I'm opposed to walls. You know, it goes back to the Berlin Wall that we had to knock down. I'm an individual who believes in open borders, open but secure borders, of course, not just, we open our borders and that's it. And I believe there's other ways than building a wall. I believe that neighbors can be better neighbors without a wall.
Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, what changes would you like to see made other than the wall that you mentioned?
Well, our country is a country of immigrants. Mm-hmm. We all come here, if not us, our forefathers come here from somewhere else, with the exception of the American Indians. So I personally believe in having a legal mechanism for people to be able to come to this country. However, when we close our borders, when we make it extremely difficult, if not impossible for many of the people to be able to immigrate to this country, then we're forcing people to go through the illegal means to do it. I personally am for any type of legal method that a person can come to this country, and there's many of them. Mm-hmm. But we need to reform our immigration laws. We need to make the process easier, simpler, for people to understand. Most people don't understand. And I think that's one of the reasons why many people, don't follow the proper procedure in coming to this country, because they simply don't understand the law.
Yeah.
So if you've got, let's say a singer is from Europe and they want to come here and they want to perform mm-hmm. anything, they want to perform for us, how do they go about doing that?
Well, there's a number of visas that are available for visas. If you have someone who's internationally renowned or nationally known European singer, we can bring that individual on a visa that we call O1 visa, which is a visa for individuals who are internationally known singers. If you've got someone who's less known, there's other visas that are available, such as the P visa and so forth.
Are those harder to get?
No, it's not. It's not difficult to get. It's again going back to the requirements. Okay. Sometimes our government makes the process so difficult for the average person to understand that, and they make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, of course, the result is denial.
So how do you distinguish, for example, between a super famous singer in the standard of the visa and a less known singer? Is there an industry standard? How do they decide that?
Well, one way is, for example, you need to look at, has that person been interviewed in newspapers, in magazines, in radio? Has that person, do they have any CDs? Do they have any rankings in their home country or neighboring countries? Have they performed anywhere else beside their home country? And so there's a lot of ways that we can look at to find out if somebody is in fact famous or not, and whether that person will qualify for the O or the P or the whatever visa that they may qualify for.
Very interesting. A lot more confusing than at first glance. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll talk more with Stephen about immigration and the law.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Celebrate Michigan. I'm Christy Derry, and we have with us today Steve Garmo, who is an immigration attorney who handles all types of immigration-related matters, including business and family visas.
Steve, you're an immigrant yourself.
Yes.
From Iraq, isn't
yes.
it? So when you came here, did that experience make you want to help other people come into the country?
Yes, that's one of the reasons I went into immigration law is I felt that there was a huge need in terms of people needing help to process their paperwork. Immigration law is very complicated. It's just like the tax law. And I felt that there was a lot of need for people wanting to know how to go about doing the different things. For example, somebody wants to bring their fiancé here, somebody getting married, somebody wanting to bring a worker from overseas into the US, somebody wanting to bring a musician to come and work here, or a singer, or a scientist, or a ballet dancer from Russia. So, and when you go into the process, it is extremely difficult for normal people to want to do it. And so a lot of just, you know what, I don't want to even deal with it. And so it discourages a lot of people. So that was one of the things, you know, I wanted to be able to help people. Not only that, help people with becoming naturalized, which I really take great pleasure in, because that is when they come from a normal person to a voter who can make a difference, you know, in who becomes president. You know, coming from a country such as Iraq, where before you had no right to vote, you understand the value of votes. You understand the value of having elected representatives who are serving the needs of the people.
Do you see permanent residents coming to you? Do they really want to vote? They really want to be a part of the democratic process?
Most, if not all, the people that want to do want to become part of the mainstream. You know, they want to become Americans. And they want to do that not just for the voting, they want to just become one of us, you know. And it's an honor really when you see these people, you know. For example, just a couple of days ago, I was with this lady and she passed, and you know, she wanted to go and she turned over to me, she wanted to give me a big hug and all that, and I said, you know, that's fine, you know. So, you know, you see all the relief and the happiness in their face, and it's, you know, that type of stuff that really, you know, makes my day.
Yeah.
Now, my husband and his family won the visa lottery, and they came over here. And when I first heard that, I was like, oh, you won the lottery. Where's all the money? You know, I got all excited. And he went to explain it to me. Could you explain the visa lottery?
Sure. The Diversity Visa Lottery, also known as DV program, is a program that allows people, approximately 55,000 people, to come in to the U.S. every year. The program is broken down into continents. For example, you're coming from North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Oceania, and so forth. Each section or each part, there's a number, you know, a specific number of people that come in from these regions. There are certain countries that are excluded because there's too many people that have already come in from these countries, such as India and China. So it's a program that allows people who have at least a high school diploma or 2 years of experience in a skill, a specific skill, to be able to emigrate, provided they meet certain requirements, of course.
If they have these certain requirements, do they have to apply for the lottery? Or?
Well, when they do apply, it's a random, obviously, it's a lottery. So only, you know, whoever name is picked is going to be able to emigrate along with their family, of course.
You mentioned that there's only a certain number of people allowed from each country or each region. Why are those restrictions there? Why don't they want too many people coming from certain countries? We
want the immigration system to be fair. We don't want it to cater to, for example, as it was in the 1900s, cater to the Western Europeans. We want the whole world to be able to have the same opportunities to be able to immigrate to the U.S. as Western Europeans did. So if for example, if we want 7% of people from France to be able to immigrate, we want the same number from some other country, depending, of course, on the population of that country. There are certain, you know, countries that have small number of people, so the number is smaller, as opposed to individuals coming from other countries where the population is significantly larger.
To make that part fair, yeah.
Now, you have a TV show and a radio show. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yes, I've had a program in what used to be called TVO and now MBN TV called Immigration Today. And I also have a program in radio every Thursday from 12:30 to 1 o'clock called Immigration Today as well, by the same name.
Okay, and they're not all in English, are they?
No. The Thursday program is in both Arabic and English. The TV program was in Arabic.
So what do you talk about on the program?
You know, like I said, there's a lot of need for for education in the immigration area. People now are afraid. You know, I've had a client the other day that was driving to work, and because he, you know, he's been undocumented for, I think, a little bit over a year, you know, he was arrested and taken into custody. His wife and children, he's got children in school, and, you know, he's going to end up getting deported, of course, because there's nothing that he can do. So these are the stories that really, and this is happening not just to people from Mexico, this is happening people from all over the world. I had a client from Romania about a year ago that was involved in, he had come into this country on a visitor visa, overstayed his visa, and wanted to stay here, but there was nothing that he could do. And so he applied for a work visa, and because of the delay, that right now there's a huge waiting period. There's about an 8 to 10 year wait.
Oh my goodness.
So his employer couldn't wait, and his visa ran out. And so he became out of status, and he was, of course, you know, arrested by immigration and eventually deported.
So you share these stories on the radio show?
Well, we talk about specifics. For example, what's new in immigration? What can you do if you have a family member overseas that wants to apply for a visitor visa, for a work visa, for a student visa, for a green card, for an investment visa? You know, for example, the U.S. and many countries share what we call a Treaty of Commerce and Navigation. Individuals from these countries can come into the U.S. and invest in a business. For example, Canadians can come in under NAFTA and invest in a business and, of course, obtain what we call an E1 or an E2 visa. And, of course, they can bring in their families. This is one example. And so we talk about these, and people have many, many questions, of course.
People call into the show and ask?
Yeah, it's a live show. You know, why is my citizenship case taking so long? Why haven't I been called for my green card interview? You know, I'm changing school from Madonna to U of M or so forth. What do I need to do? You know, I'm finishing school and I'm graduating with my bachelor, and I want to apply for the work permit. What do I need to do to apply for the OPT, also known as optional practical training?
You know, unfortunately, we are out of time. I could see why you have a television show about this, because you can go on and on for hours, and as the immigration laws change, you can just talk about it. But I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
If you want to find out more about Stephen Garmo, you can check him out on his website at www.garmo.com.
We'll see you next time.